Oblivion Remaster is real. We have seen it with our own eyes as of yesterday, but within the last 24 hours, we also got some really big information specifically about when it's actually going to release, which is supposedly on April 21st, less than a week from today, that it's going to be available on Game Pass. And we got this information from the actual Xbox support with people messaging them and them responding, confirming that you can both have the gameplay improvements and the graphics upgrades on April 21st with all of the DLCs when it releases on Game Pass. This is huge not only because of the release date, but we also know that there are going to be those rumored and leaked gameplay changes to the core experience of Oblivion, probably the same things that were leaked way back in the day, like stealth changes, like a completely different HUD, like hit reactions and enemies, archery changes, etc. But while this is the only Oblivion remaster that's going to be out next week, there's another one that's going to be coming this year by the name of Skyblivion that was started all the way back in 2012 by just a team of passionate modders. Skyblivion is also going to have graphical upgrades. It's also going to have changes to the core gameplay. It's also going to have things like DLCs and potentially cut content added in, which leads to the question, which one is better? Which one should you actually play? I'm going to break down everything we know about both of these projects because there are some pretty big core differences here, some positives and negatives to each of the experiences. Now, starting off with the Oblivion Remaster because it's releasing next week, what do we know? Well, number one, it's completely rebuilt by Virtuos Studios in Unreal Engine 5. This game is not in the Creation Engine, which comes to probably the biggest and the first negative about this official remaster. And that is not having modding support. It has been leaked and rumored that this won't have it because this game was created in Unreal Engine 5. And we haven't really seen any game ever be created within UE5 have modding support before. Now, albeit this isn't actually confirmed, this isn't a 100%, it's just very likely it won't have this mod support. However, if you look at any game from Bethesda, if you look at Elder Scrolls fans specifically, they continue playing games like Skyrim that was released all the way back in 2011. They're playing it to this day for the sole purpose of the mods. There's a whole community of modders that have made careers on it. There are whole communities on YouTube that just post videos about new Skyrim mods to this day and have created, again, entire careers based on this. So this is probably the biggest negative for the actual Oblivion remaster coming from Virtuos and obviously being overseen by Bethesda themselves. Another negative here is that we've never seen the Unreal Engine 5 create a well-performing open world game. It's probably the biggest drawback that this engine has. And Bethesda is known for having all of those very small cups, mugs, and everything that you can interact with out in the world. That's something that the Creation Engine specifically does extremely well, and one of the reasons that to this day they are using it. And with the open world of Oblivion being even bigger than Skyrim was, I'm interested to see if this game is going to perform up to the standard that people want it to. But there's also a flip side here. There have been developers that have left Bethesda that had said one of the biggest reasons they left and one of the biggest pain points of them working there is the Creation Engine, that it's behind, that they continually have to develop it to be up to the same pace as the other engines, and they wanted them to move over to Unreal Engine. It is no secret that the Unreal Engine 5 looks absolutely gorgeous. If you look at Senua's Hellblade 2, I mean, it's probably the most photorealistic game we've ever seen. This was created, obviously, in Unreal Engine 5. Now, it's a very linear experience, etc. But Oblivion, just from the images we have seen, the remaster, looks incredible. It looks better than Skyrim's engine. It looks better than anything the Creation Engine, at least in my opinion, has shown. So in terms of graphical fidelity and quality, this is probably going to be the best version of the Oblivion remaster, better than Skyblivion, that you can play. It looks absolutely beautiful. Now, a lot of people have complained about the lighting and the color grading specifically with how it looks a little bit darker, a little bit more brown than the original Oblivion game. I just think it looks absolutely beautiful. Now, moving on to something I mentioned at the start of this video, the Oblivion Remaster is also supposed to have core gameplay changes that was seemingly confirmed by the Xbox support. Now, what are these supposedly rumored gameplay changes, because we don't actually know what they are as of yet? The first thing is a blocking mechanic that is inspired by Souls games. Now, I don't think this is going to be anything like a Souls-like, but this leads me to think that there's going to be something like a parry mechanic where if you parry at the right time on a hit, you can get a free, powerful attack in. There's also supposed to be an overhauled archery system. Now, I don't necessarily know what this means, but I think it's going to hopefully be an improvement to the overall archery system in Oblivion. Now, you also are going to have a supposedly modified stamina system. This could go kind of in tandem with the Souls-like blocking mechanics. Now, additionally, there's going to be highlighted sneak icons, added hit reactions. That's one of the biggest things because you just feel like it's very unimpactful when you play Oblivion and you kind of do the combat where you're just hitting over and over again and the enemy isn't having any reaction to that hit. So I think that'll be an overall improvement in a lot of ways. And then supposedly there's also going to be a HUD change to make it a little bit more modernized from the original game. So all of these I'm very excited for, and I think it'll make Oblivion an overall better experience, specifically with the gameplay and the combat, because that's one of the biggest drawbacks not only with Oblivion, but every single Elder Scrolls and almost every single Bethesda game in general. Now moving on to the last big thing here, and something I think will be big for a lot of people, especially in this game economy, is the price point. You're going to have to buy this game if you do not have Xbox Game Pass, and it is supposed to be available, and we saw in leaked images that it was available on PlayStation, on Xbox, and on PC as well. So anybody, if you do not have Xbox Game Pass, specifically if you're on PlayStation, you are going to have to buy this game. Now, we don't know how much it's actually going to cost. I'm assuming the base version is going to be anywhere from $40 to $50, and the deluxe version that's going to include DLCs as well is probably going to be anywhere between $60 and $70, but I wouldn't be surprised, especially with what Nintendo is doing, if they get a little bit bold here and they just throw the base edition up to $70 and then the deluxe edition is somewhere around $90. Please don't do that, Bethesda. So in conclusion, I think if you're excited about those gameplay changes and you're excited about the graphical quality of Unreal Engine 5, this is going to be the way to go. I definitely think it's going to be worth playing Oblivion Remaster for that, especially if you have Game Pass and you're supposed to be able to get all the DLCs with the Game Pass version of the game, the deluxe edition, for free if you're paying that monthly subscription. There's no reason not to play this. But now moving on to Skyblivion, there are a lot of reasons to play this one as well, even with the official Bethesda remaster coming out probably next week. And the biggest thing is that it's not in Unreal Engine 5. The creation engine, specifically Skyrim's engine, is what this game is being built on. You have a team of passionate modders who are not doing this for the money in any way whatsoever, that have been putting their blood, sweat, and tears into this since 2012. And while the official remaster is not going to have mod support, most likely because it is in Unreal Engine, this one, because it's in Creation Engine, is going to have modding support. And it could have a community that's continuously playing this game for years and years and years after release, because it also has a dev team that is most likely going to be adding content if people are playing this after release. And if they're not adding content, the community is going to be adding content. So there are always going to be reasons to hop back into the Oblivion or Skyblivion and continuously play this game with the mods. Now, in addition, if you're someone who didn't think the Oblivion Remaster and the images that we saw kind of had that heart and soul of the very green trees and grass and that same type of aesthetic that the original Oblivion had, this one definitely has that. We've seen it be played and it looks absolutely incredible. Now, I don't think, at least in my personal opinion, it looks as good as the Unreal Engine 5 remaster, at least the images we saw, but it still looks really good. Now, in addition, we haven't seen the Unreal Engine 5, as I've mentioned, do an open world extremely well in terms of performance. Not to say the remaster won't perform very well, it's just kind of saying that this one might perform better because it's in Creation Engine and because they've had so much more time developing it in the engine that these games were originally created in. Bethesda knows what this engine does well. They specifically designed this engine to make these type of games. That's why it is so good at having all of those objects that are able to be interacted with in one room or in one area, and this one is obviously going to have that as well with it being created in that engine. But moving on into the gameplay changes with Skyblivion, there is a lot that they're trying to do here as well. Number one, a new leveling system that's more similar to adding attributes every time you level up instead of the pretty crappy leveling system from original Oblivion, which was one of the biggest drawbacks of that game. Another big drawback was the Oblivion gates. They're trying to add more Oblivion gates so they're not the same every time you go in there, with different scaling with the enemies in general to make them more difficult and more varied each time you encounter them, with actually added boss mechanics to some of the bosses in the games as well, which is awesome. The combat is not going to be Oblivion combat. It's going to be more similar to Skyrim, with it being created in that engine in general, which I think is actually a big improvement. You're going to have those things like hit reactions and have some of those improvements to the base combat just by them being more similar to Skyrim. And there's honestly so much more than that. They're also supposed to be adding just new enemies in general into the game that makes sense within that area, and just in general, there's so much that's going to be coming in the base game as well as after the base game from this dev team that it's going to be worth playing just for those things. And lastly, this team is just not doing this for a profit. They saw the Oblivion Remaster be seemingly confirmed with all the leaks and images, and they just said, yeah, cool, we're not doing this for a profit anyway, we're still going to create this game, and that is awesome. These people have been working on this since 2012, so I think no matter what, if you're a fan of the Elder Scrolls, specifically Oblivion, we should just be showing them our support because of that. In general, this game is going to be free for most people. If you have the Skyrim Special Edition, you have the Oblivion Game of the Year Deluxe Edition already, you can just download this as a mod for Skyrim and play it. Completely free. Now, if you don't have either of these editions, I think with no sales at all, they're going to run you probably about $60, so probably the same or similar, maybe a little bit more than the Oblivion Remaster is going to be. But in general, on PC, if you don't have either of these, you're probably not really considering playing Skyblivion anyway. Now, unfortunately, because this is being created as a mod, this is not going to be on PlayStation or Xbox. This is going to be for PC people specifically. But in conclusion, because this is going to have mod support, because this game potentially is going to be worked on after release with cut content, it's going to have gameplay changes for itself. It might be even a little bit closer to the original Oblivion aesthetic. There are tons of reasons to play Skyblivion. You should play it if you're a fan of this game, as I mentioned, just to support this mod team and how much work they have put in over the last decade and more. But in the end, to answer the question, which one should you play, the Oblivion Remaster or Skyblivion? You should play both. I think a lot of true Oblivion fans are going to want to play both because there are both positives and negatives to both of them. What I'm personally going to do is I'm definitely going to play the official remaster the day it comes out on Game Pass. I'm going to play the living hell out of it. I cannot wait to see this world recreated for the first time in the Unreal Engine 5, which we've never seen a Bethesda game be created in. I'm extremely excited to see that world in that brand new engine. It's going to be awesome. But in addition to that, I'm definitely going to be playing Skyblivion day one as well. When they release this, I'm going to play through it. I'm going to see those gameplay changes and the things they have done to the Oblivion game in general to make it the best it could possibly be for this remake of the game within the creation engine. And then that's when I'm going to play probably all of the mods. That's where I'm going to play all of the cut content afterwards. I'm probably going to be playing Skyblivion long term and then playing Oblivion Remaster in the short term. These aren't releasing on the same month by any means. Skyblivion is going to be later down in 2025. We don't have a confirmed date, so I'm definitely going to play both. And I think as an Oblivion fan, that's the best course of action. If you're able to play both, play both. I would love to hear down below in the comments what you guys are going to play. Are you going to play the remaster, or are you going to play Skyblivion? Or like me, are you excited for and going to play both? In reality, Oblivion fans, Elder Scrolls fans in general are winning. We're getting 2 different Oblivion remasters this year. One of them is probably going to be releasing next week. On top of that, in the grand scheme of things, the Elder Scrolls 6 is around the corner. Now, probably not. We still might have to wait 3 years, but I mean, shit. It's been since 2011 since we've had a mainline Elder Scrolls game, so in that context, it's right around the corner. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. If you're new to the channel and you like gaming news and reviews for RPGs and games I'm personally interested in, please like and subscribe if you did like what you see here. And for my returning viewers, thank you guys as always for the support on this channel. Please like this video if you like the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!